And it's the same kind of thing when I first read about BG and when I first saw him, and then when I first met him and when I first heard him, it just inspired me so much to want to be like him.
Really? Yeah. Wow. BG was the trailblazer really for our Pacific rugby, wasn't he? I mean, he put us on the map.
He's amazing. He's so inspirational. And again, growing up in the 70s here in Auckland and Aotearoa, we just didn't have those superheroes out there on TV or even in books or magazines, whatever. But he was there. There was the Solomon brothers who were All Blacks in the 50s, I think it was, or 30s.
Is that right?
Yes.
Who were they?
Solomon brothers.
Solomon brothers.
Yeah, they were Samoan, and I think actually Josh Kronfeld's family. Yeah. So there's all these connections, and then there was Arthur Jennings, who was a Fijian.
Right.
And then you had in sports, the Monty Beethams and Peter Maivia, and even in netball, they was coming through. There's Rita Fatialofa was coming through, but definitely for me, BG in the 70s really was, I suppose, that iconic Pacifica role model that inspired a generation of Pacifica youth and probably Māori and every Kiwi. But for us, he was ours. He belonged to us. Couldn't believe that he was this, Samoan, part Cook Islander, probably something else.
Quietly spoken.
Modest, handsome, debonair, could play the guitar, and he was my mother being big on education, loved the fact that he was a lawyer. So I think there was so many. We've just been privileged to have someone like that. And when you hear some of the stories, even about what he had to endure in South Africa as a coloured, it's mind-boggling. And yet here we are now enjoying, I suppose, the fruits of the ground that BG broke way back in. We're talking 50 years ago. You weren't even born yet.
He was. I was. No. So was BG a reason why you went to university as well? I mean,
I think it encouraged me, but I think there was always going to be a course because of my mother being a teacher. Education was always big in our household. But I think no doubt to think that he could be an All Black and still do all this. And everything else, that was a real inspiration for us and many others.
That's so true. The BG story is one that this generation aren't really aware of. His Pacific story is it's
amazing.
One. Is it the Eden Park test in the water that inspires you?
Well, I was inspired earlier. I mean, that was something that always stands out. Because I was still young. I'm old enough to have watched black and white BG in 1970. Sidestepping through half the South Africans and this massive sidestep, those massive thighs, and he was just like dancing and like a ballerina through these South Africans, and they probably thought, who the heck is this kid? And then he was 19, 20 maybe, and then he went around. I don't know if you've seen that famous footage. You got through, and then he goes and has the audacity to run around and put the ball over the post.
And Colin Meanstock put the bloody ball down.
And he was just like, that black hair flying. I just thought, man, that's amazing.